What is the most romantic fruit? Hi, welcome to the Authentic Action Podcast. I'm Angel, your amazing host. And as usual, I'm cracking myself up, and I'm here to talk about we all just want to be loved. We all just want to love and be loved. That's the topic of my ramble today. And today's episode is another Sola episode. And it is brought to you by the Sleeping Dragons Company and the Authentic Action Academy. More on those sponsors later. And the punchline to my amazingly silly joke at the end of this podcast, if I can remember to give it to you, as a reward for sticking it out. But that's not all. The main reward is going to be this topic, because I know that it is a topic dear to everyone's heart. Even those of us who say, I don't want love, I don't need love, I don't want to be loved. That's generally just because we've gotten cynical over years of trying to get love or trying to love and be loved, and then feeling like we've failed at it, and so becoming cynical. So even though we all just want to love and be loved, we're also wounded, the majority of us. And as they say, wounded people wound people, or I think the version goes, hurt people hurt people. I like to say healing people help heal people as well, but we'll get to that later. So let's just suspend those arguments against that. Maybe there's a few among us who are so tough and so hardened, or just born so detached that we don't want to love and be loved. I think even those cases are hardened like that because of our inherent, not just desire to love and be loved. It really is a fundamental need. It's wired into us as the mammals we are, and as the slow evolving, slow growing human beings we are. I know my blue background is doing some funky stuff. See if I can get in a place where it's a little bit less weird on the face there. Maybe that's a little bit better. For those of you listening, I'm also making a video podcast, so be sure to check that out if you're interested in seeing what blue I am talking about. Where was I? I was at, we all just want to be loved, but we are often wounded. And therefore, we make it harder than it has to be. And sometimes we wound the very people that we love the most, including our own parents and children. We tend to pass down these wounds generation to generation. Often, if we haven't been confronted with our own fallibility, we might go through our entire lifetime just repeating the reactions of the woundedness of our ancestors, our parents being the first and most obvious, and then going back to our grandparents, other caretakers, of course, and not just in our own individual family lines, but also in our collective, by our nationalities, by our countries, and even more broadly speaking, as our entire human race is starting to become aware of the role that we play, the interplay of our actions and our environment's reactions and actions. It's all interrelated, turns out. I think some of us have been saying that a while. And even those of us like me who says that a lot still probably loses sight of that fairly often, and doesn't always act in accordance with that realization. So here we are, making it harder than it has to be. All we really want is to love and be loved. And yet, because of these aforementioned wounded patterns from both our individual lives and our collective lives and our familial genetic lines, we end up resistant to that desire to love and be loved. And we end up, even when we're not resistant, sometimes acting out in ways when we don't quite know how to act, where we feel overwhelmed with sometimes even positive emotions, and certainly when we're overwhelmed with negative emotions, a lot of times that leads us to act in automated or default sorts of ways, which can not only wound the people we love, but also wound ourselves more, which hopefully we are among those that we love. That's probably a topic to dive into for a whole another podcast, because in my own healing journey, I've certainly run up against many rungs, many layers in that onion that is my own self-discovery. I have run into many layers of self-loathing, not being completely self-loving, um, self-sabotage, all those self-limiting behaviors that so many, if not all of us, seem to get tangled up in from time to time. Let's just take a deep breath together on all of that and soak in it, marinate in it for a moment or two, because again, I know I'm not alone. None of us are alone in that. It's a collective issue, and I think we all are feeling it to various degrees at various times. Sometimes we feel very loved, or I can just speak for myself and say sometimes I am very aware of how much I am loved, how much I am love itself, how much love is utilizing me as a conduit to take actions through, to expand through, to experience through those wonderful, wonderful senses that our human bodies have, to explore love in all its many facets. That makes me want to pinky finger, asterisk tangent, mention a saying that I really like, which is, there's more to a relationship than love. And I think often we think, well, love conquers all. You might hear that. And if we have enough love, we can make a relationship work. And certainly there's probably some aspects of truth in that. Like, certainly there are times in relationships where love might pull you through when nothing else can. And also, there is more to a relationship than love. And there are many different types of relationships. If we're talking about an intimate partnership, a romantic relationship, then there is also desire, there's mystery and security, there's communication, there's compatibility, both physically and spiritually and emotionally and socially. There's so many facets of um so many facets to a relationship, and love is just one of those facets, really. So even though we all just want to be loved and we all just want to love, when it comes to actually doing that, practicing it, finding other people to practice that with, I think that's where we run into this this seemingly endless ebb and flow of good feelings and bad feelings, of feeling successful and feeling like a failure, of falling in love and then having our hearts broken, and regaining our own self-love and then falling in love with someone else, or maybe stepping carefully, not falling the next time, and building a solid foundation and building love. Um, Again, I think there's, like with everything in life, not one way to do it. There are many really positive ways and many really negative ways, and most of the ways are combinations thereof. Some little bit of positive, little bit of negative, hopefully more positive than negative. Um, Yet I would say a lot of the intimate relationships that I see, at least from the outside, and a lot of the ones that I've experienced from the inside, have a pretty good, fair amount of negative as well. I do think that relationships are a way that we have to grow into, a way that we can get a reflection of ourselves in a way that we can't always get without that relationship. So there can be very valuable for growth, for evolving ourselves, and growth and evolving ourselves doesn't always feel good. So I think sometimes um, relationships get a bad rap, especially those intimate partnerships, because they're hard, because they're challenging, because in those challenges, sometimes they don't feel good at all. In fact, sometimes they can be the most heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, terrible feeling things that we experience, contrasted by sometimes they are the most wonderful, amazing, heart-melting, blissful experiences that we have in life. And really, I think it's both of those aspects that make them such a draw for all of us. So, um, yeah, I wanna say there's hope. Never fear, even though we're all sort of doomed to want love, and even though the majority of us, if not all of us, are wounded. I met one person once who said he hasn't experienced the level of trauma that I have, but even he, sometime soon after that, was asking me for some help with depression. So maybe he didn't experience the levels of trauma that I have, but certainly he has experienced his own, individual experiences, because I think we all do. And generationally, societally, I don't really believe any of us gets out without some wounding. And so then we all have the capacity to make things a little bit harder than they would have to be if we didn't have that wounding. And a lot of people like to think, well, that's where that's what we're here for. It's Earth School. We're here to learn lessons. We make agreements. I don't know about any of that. I just know that I have made things a lot harder than they had to be many times in my life. And I have often been able to see when I look back that it's because of woundedness, because of woundings, because of my, it's not that I want to hurt anyone else. It's that I don't know how to deal with my own hurts sometimes, and so that leads me to hurt others or to hurt myself more. The good news is there's hope. Healing happens. Healing actually happens all on its own, just like death and dying happens all on its own. Also, healing and renewal happens all on its own. For whatever reason, we fall asleep almost every night, and healing occurs while we're asleep. Healing occurs in the relationships, in those little pauses. Healing happens in a song when you get off beat, and then eventually you start to come back around and get back on beat. It's pretty amazing when you just sort of take your hands and feet off the submerging, off the control wheel, off the trying to make everything happen the way you want it to happen, and instead just let healing happen, let renewal happen. You might be amazed how much you can heal, how much your body can heal, how much our whole society can heal, how much any specific relationship can heal. I have been amazed more than once in this life, and I expect I will be amazed many more times in this life. And that's one of my favorite parts about living life, really, is how healing happens, how surprised I can be by how rapidly it can happen, by how automatically and completely, maybe sometimes not completely, sometimes there's a little glimmer, a trace, a scar, something we've learned, an adjustment, but still you can regain function. Not only can we regain function that we think we've lost in our bodies and in our relationships and in our societies, we can actually gain new function that we didn't even know we had. We can get stronger. We can get new inside jokes in our relationships. We can develop new systems of helping. We can improve our existing systems. There's really no end to that potential for healing. And so, um, while I'm thinking of it, speaking of healing, the last 2 or 3 years I've been working on a book called The Shift. And part of the work of that has been putting together a collection of what I call 2-minute tools. Not all of them are exactly 2 minutes, but the idea being quick and easy tools that anyone could access anytime to help heal. And I've broken them down into sort of what I call green light, which are the everyday tools like brushing your teeth, the habits that you want to do, like meditation, and exercising and developing healthy relationships, through yellow light tools like tapping and journaling, through those red light tools like deep breathing, like shifting your perspective, tools that you might use in an acute dysregulated state. And I've put all those tools together. It's over 100 tools that I've investigated and basically made a brief summary of and just put into a quick alphabetized list, which I am offering for free to anyone who would like to give me your email address so I can send it to you. And if you would like for that to be you, then give me your email address and I will put you on a list. You could send it to me with something in the subject heading that says 2-minute tools or healing toolkit or the shift, something along those lines. Right now, I still have a small enough list that I will see it. Eventually, I will be adding a link, and you might already find that down there in the description. If you want to just click and sign in your own information on my website, that's also handy. Anyhow, I am giving that PDF away of 2-minute tools because it's been years, actually more than a decade, probably 2 decades of my life that I've been collecting these tools, trying a lot of them out, using them, learning about them, reading about them, helping other people learn to use them. And it's a pretty good collection of tools. And I don't expect you to use all 100 of them. It's just about just find one tool that works really well for you, maybe 2 or 3. The idea of my book, The Shift, is building your own custom toolkit where you try out a few different tools, you find the ones that work best for you, and you gain that confidence in knowing that you have the skills that you need to navigate your own emotional waves and self-sabotaging tendencies that we all have. So there you have it, a little spiel about my book, The Shift. Do check it out. Look for the link to it. It pretty soon will be finished and for sale. And then actually also I have some supporting like coursework in the works for that as well, in a community and all that good stuff. So check it out. While I'm telling you to check stuff out, check out our sponsors as well, the Sleeping Dragons Company, where you can find hard to find essential oils and herbs and other supplies for your creative endeavors, and where self-love is a culture that we support. And also check out the Authentic Action Academy. We're building a new community over in School, that's School with a K. Check it out. You can find a link to all of that and probably more in the description below. Now back to the podcast. So as I was saying, there is hope, even though we all just want to be loved, and even though we're all wounded, and even though we make things harder than they have to be, there is hope. There's hope. And I know there's hope because I have healed, and many people around me have healed who seemed like lost causes as I have many times. And if I can do it, you can do it. And if we can do it, then the whole world can do it. And there you have a lot of hope. Healing does happen just all on its own for free, but there are also skills and tools that you can learn, that you can implement, that can help you. So, as I mentioned, I have a collection of those, but by all means, ask around. If you find somebody who seems extra successful or happy, ask them what tools they're using. They might just surprise you with some good advice or something that you hadn't thought of. And even though healing happens for free, success is not guaranteed. That's the bad news. Uh, we have this default mode network where we go to the negative thinking, where we go to the self-sabotage, where we go to the bad habits over and over and over again, where we over catastrophize things, where we focus on the negative, where we make those things harder than they have to be. And if we're not deliberately like taking our foot off the gas and stopping ourselves from leaning into that self-sabotage, we might not heal. We could keep eating the wrong things every day. We could keep not exercising. We could keep not allowing ourselves to heal, or keep damaging ourselves over and over and over again, such that we die damaged. We die not really knowing how to love and be loved. Such a simple thing that we wanted from the day we were born. And really, we were born having a natural, like a baby's pretty much know how to love and be loved, right? I mean, if you look at an infant, it's got no problem understanding that it is love, and it knows how to love, and it knows how to be loved. And it's only through those those little and big insults to our natural sense, to all our natural senses, our sense of right and wrong, our sense of love, really, that hardens us, that wounds us, that causes us to, start to think, maybe it's me, maybe I did something wrong, maybe I should do something differently. And as we start to do that, if we're not careful, if we don't catch it, if we don't either find a mentor or a group, a healing group, if we don't fall into our own healing path, as many of us do of our own accord, um, then we might not succeed. And actually, even if we do fall into our own healing path, like I've been known to say, nobody gets out alive. So you're still going to have some suffering, still going to die probably. I know, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but I will. Because I think a lot of people are denying that. It's a weird thing. I think a lot of us think sometimes that if we just do the right sequence of things, if we just take enough good care of ourselves, that we won't get sick and we won't die. And I'm sorry to say, we're still going to die. Everybody born dies. I've thought about making a children's book along those lines. I'm not sure it would sell, but my heart's in it anyway. And I'm not saying that to be depressing. I know some people hear that and think, why would you remind me of that? It's depressing. But I think it should be freeing, because it allows you to see that, like, death is the one thing you get for free. The quality of life is the part that's up to you largely, not all of it. There's always unknown factors. Many of us get, the deck of cards, the hand that we're dealt is what it is. So there's things that aren't in our control, and I'm not trying to tell you you can manifest your way out of everything and anything in your life. In my experience, some things are hardwired in, hard written in. And also, a lot of things that we think are hardwired in aren't as hardwired in as we think. We are actually capable of a lot more change than we think. And so part of my mission in life is to help people realize that, and realize that if you want something like love, then you have the capacity to develop better skills to get it. And you may not ever get it perfectly, and you're still going to die, but you can improve from wherever you are if you set your mind to it and you keep that positive attitude and you believe you can, and you start to take little steps and learn from your mistakes, then you will improve. That's one of the beautiful kind of facts. Sort of hesitantly say facts. One of the beautiful aspects of this life that most of us have encountered is the way that things improve with practice, is the way that we can learn things. We're pretty amazing at learning things, actually. So even though success is not guaranteed, if you're willing to do the work, then you could get better. You may not ever get perfect, but you could get better. And there are many, many, many tools, many, many strategies, many, many helpful people and mentors out there. I'm one of them. Hi, you might be one of them too. There's The Work by Katie Byron. There's many great mentors. I like to listen to Alan Watts regularly. He's dead now, but much of his stuff is recorded. And actually, now there's some AI coming out with new collections of things, which is a whole interesting, whole new basket of things. But the point being, you can find things to feed yourself that help you do that internal shifting, that help you move away from that default spiral of woundedness and wounding others and towards this new hotness, the spiral of wellness and healing and trying again and getting better. What I call the shift in the book and the course that I'm working on, as I've mentioned. But there are many names for it, and I certainly have not invented this idea, and I'm not the first, nor will I be the last, I hope, to dive into trying to explain it, trying to encourage others to embody more of it. And it begins with taking responsibility for yourself and your own life and your own, where you are, and then it ends with still doing that some more. And maybe noticing that you're fallible and being okay with that anyway and loving yourself anyway, because you're worthy of your own love. Always. It's been a nice ramble. Let's see if I can summarize. We all just want to be loved, but we're often wounded. So therefore we make it harder than it has to be, and we wound each other, and we pass down our wounds to the next generations sometimes. But there is hope. Healing happens, and it's free, and it's easy, and all we have to do is get out of our own way. I heal, you heal, we all can heal. I have a free PDF 2-minute tool book, if you're interested, that I'd be happy to give to you with some ideas to spark ways that you could help facilitate that healing in yourself so that you are part of the force of humans that is taking part in that healing others by healing ourselves instead of the accidental wounding of others by being wounded and not doing the work to heal ourselves. Because again, success is not guaranteed. It does happen automatically, but if we're continuously getting in our own way and self-sabotaging, then it happens at the very least more slowly, and sometimes it doesn't really happen because we keep getting in the way. And if you would like some help in overcoming that self-sabotaging tendency, my book, The Shift, upcoming book, is one of many, many tools out there made to try to help you with that. And I also am building a community and have a course. So hit me up if you think I am someone who is a good fit for you. And if you don't, then look around. There are other people out there who are wanting to help. We all like to help each other, in fact. So there's many, many others out there wanting to help, and you can find a good fit for you to help you through that. But you're going to have to do the work yourself. You're going to have to actually take that first that responsibility step. And yeah, it's really nobody else can do it for you. Nobody else is coming. Nobody else can be responsible for your own responsiveness to your own life. And the more you embody that, the more you take that on, the more you're going to love yourself, and the more you're going to find you have the capacity to be loved and love others. This has been my experience, and I'm confident enough that it's true in a universal sense that here I am publicly stating that. And if you want to argue about it, I'd be happy to. We can do that. I like arguing sometimes, but I also like getting along. And hopefully, this has been a nice journey for you and an encouraging ramble from me to help remind you that you are lovable, that you can get better at your relationships. You can learn to love and be loved more authentically. And I paused there because it is automatic. It's not really something that you have to learn. It's something inherent in you, but you do sort of have to unlearn all that getting in your own way. You do sort of have to learn how to just allow yourself to love and be loved. And when it comes to intimate relationships and partnerships and other, business relationships, all the types of relationships, being in a society with other humans, when it comes to us all getting along, it does take more than love. It does take some work. It does take a willingness to do the work, sometimes fail or fall down, learn from that, apologize when necessary, get back up and try again sometimes. And it's sometimes difficult and it's sometimes uncomfortable, but it's also like the most rewarding thing. And to me, it seems like probably the most fundamentally important thing when you really boil it down to the end of your life at the end of the day. Um, yeah, I think learning to get better at loving ourselves, loving each other, learning how to love and be loved is really what it's all about. You can let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you. I thank you so much for joining me today on the Authentic Action Podcast. I hope that you are remembering to love yourself because you're worthy of your own unconditional love. I hope that you will check out our sponsors, the Sleeping Dragons Company over on Etsy and the Authentic Action Academy. And so that I don't leave you hanging with our silly joke of the day, what's the most romantic fruit? A date. You're welcome. Till next time, I'll be seeing ya. Ciao for now. Peace.